life there, which she did, which her diary is about. And slowly, as she's in America, she's Willa, in the depth of her depression, used to switch the camera on, begin to talk to it, and then just dissolve into a sort of state of a sort of catatonic state, really, of crying and what have you, which was actually very, very difficult on some levels, but also very, very intriguing on other levels, because I don't think anybody had ever seen rushes of this nature before. I mean, why would you, and why would you want to, in a sense, until her story became clearer. She went back to America.
You just dropped out there.
Nothing much. Sorry, yeah, she went back to America. She took the camera with her, and she found it didn't really gel until she met up with her sister again, and then filming her sister direct, the two of them began to sort of excavate this memory of the abuse that they suffered at the hands of their stepmother. And there's a sequence in the film where her sister recalls her stepmother used to take them down into the cellar and make them lick across the dirty floor of the cellar from one side to the other. And it's a very, very powerful sequence as these two sisters are recalling this past that the two of them are kind of buried, in a way. Basically, that's Willa's diary is my demons, and my demons are the fact that she was she was abused, sorry, not sexually abused, abused by her stepmother in America.
Right.
And I mean, that was the diary that, because the first one where Robert Wilson was in the hands of a celebrity, or rather a writer, who you might think was already part of the people who didn't necessarily need more access. This was the first diary with Willa, I think, that really kind of hit home as to what the potential.
And so you were saying this also had the sort of the critical acclaim as well.
Yeah, I think it was the first series that got the BFI Award for Innovation, and I'll have to look up what the awards it collected were, but it also got the RTS Award for Best Documentary. I mean, it's amazing when you think about it, what other documentary makers must have thought that there's people who've never picked up Willa's case, never used a video camera before, never wanted to use a video camera, used one for the first time and won the RTS award for it. I mean, noses put out a joint or what, I mean, it was quite amazing at the time.
Well, I think even going on sort of 17 years, 20 years from that, we've had similar experiences even over the last 2 or 3 years. It's a Homeless Diaries program that we did, which was actually pulled together by a professional presenter, but was based on Homeless Diaries, and that still put a lot of noses out of joint. I think it's actually the world hasn't changed quite as much as it might. I don't think.
Okay. Well, what has changed, of course. I mean, I was asked by the unions for the first series. I said, "Will this have much a change and effect on things?" I said, "No, I don't think it will." I mean, there'll still be professional people, obviously working in professional end, and this is just a slightly different way of doing things that don't have a great deal of impact. I kind of half believed it, but on the other hand, I kind of had to say it at the time, because it would be too upsetting to take any other approach, and too annoying to take any other approach. But when you moved into Series 2 and the figures were quite good too, and there were all the sort of writing about it and everything, then you soon became aware that this was something which was changing quite a number of things. But of course, what's happened now is that the professionals have adopted the technology and used it for themselves much more readily. I mean, when I went back into Television Centre a couple of years ago, I remember there was all sorts of young people running around with cameras about to go off and shoot this, that, and the other. It has had that. It's obviously been accepted now as a technical method of doing this because of all sorts of right and wrong reasons.
Yeah. Well, so that's interesting that your observation is it's liberated the professionals as much as it's liberated the
low end technology, digital technology has liberated professionals as much as the public. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just finished making a 4-part series for the BBC using the Z1, which isn't really a complicated camera, is it?
No.
It's sort of low-end digital, but what it shot me a 4-part BBC Two, 4 hours of BBC Two series now. As you know, it happens a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, we used went on a trip. It's just about 2 or 3 years ago now to India and Pakistan with some teenagers, and we used a mixture of just Sony A1s and Z1s and Z1, and you could barely tell the difference between even the Sony A1s and the Z1s.
Wow. No, yeah. No, I think it's in the right conditions. They're superb.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much disposable in one sense. If it's worth carrying. I always said to people in shooting professionally after that, where's the other little cameras to take with us, for God's sake?
Yeah. What's quite interesting now, though, that sort of some of the very cheap, some of the very small end, everybody got quite excited about the flip cameras, but
yes.
We did do experiments with them, and then we've pretty much discarded them. And I noticed the other day, even the owners, the guy who invented it, had sort of said there is no place for this flip camera in the market, because either you have the upper end of the camcorder market, or people use their phones, or you've got a professional market. It's interesting how time just sort of writes some things in and other things out.
Yeah, but although I saw an article a couple of days ago saying that Cisco dropping flip possibly is for alternative reasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that actually it was not at the end of its production, not at the end of its useful marketing life, as it were.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's that you're right. That's the point.
Yeah.
So that's really that's how it started, and that's and Kevin Allen was in series 2, and that's when actually there's one other story. I suppose one other factor. There was a guy called Peter Weil who I think, because of reorganisations inside the BBC, was temporarily, as it were, the controller of our area. It was Mike Fenterman as head, but I think somewhere above him was Peter Weil. And when we went to pitch Video Diaries, he came along too. And Alan Yentob had been very, very taken with the idea initially, but he was suddenly told before the meeting that he's got virtually no money to spend, and so he said, "Well, I think it's a great idea, but I just don't think we can do it at the moment. There's not." And then I remember Peter Weil popping up out of the corner and said, "You must be," I think he swore it. He said, "You must be fucking stupid, Alan." He said, "What is this going to cost you? Nothing. You could do for this series. You can do one film or 6 of these programs. This has got to be tried, surely." And Alan sort of relented and allowed it. So it was the one good thing Peter Weil ever did was speak up from his corner. But pretty soon it was obviously up and running. It was going to be part of the woodwork for a bit and had to be done properly. And that's, I think, after a couple of series. Didn't Teenage Diaries start after 2 or 3 series then? I think it did.
Well, absolutely, early stage of research, so
yeah, Teenage Diaries.
Look up the Teenage Diaries as well then.
Teenage Diaries started after about 2 series, I think, of Video Diaries alongside it, and Tony Steiger was the guy who was pushing that. We had to bring in various people because of the amount of production was getting large and quite time consuming. Gabe Solomon was another. Gabe Solomon was the person who edited on the Willa My Demons film with me, and he went on to become a producer on Video Diaries. I saw his name on something very good the other day. He's an extremely good series producer now. But various different people joined us who sort of were into the ethic of it and wanted to get behind it for all sorts of new skills with it.
Talking about the sort of the ethic side rather than the technology side for a minute, did it feel like there was a bit of a sea change, that the technology had almost enabled, whether you were intending it or not, from that sort of open door, open space type of 70s, 80s era into this camcorder work, where suddenly it got more personal rather than maybe sort of broadly political? Or was that something you weren't really aware of it as it happened?
was aware that it was, yes.
Well, there was sort of, you were working with community groups and...